I'm actually going to start. I think everyone here knows myself. I'm Lizanne Pando, proud president of St. Hubert Catholic High School for Girls. And I thank you all for joining us this morning for our inaugural EITC Zoom session. And Lisa Quinn, who is on our board, as many of you know, is our EITC committee chair. So I'm going to toss it to her for introductions.
Yeah, so good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining. As Lizanne said, you all know I'm part of the board and I am a St. Hubert's alum. So, you know, these programs, as you learn more about them, they're really great way to provide, you know, financial aid to St. Hubert students. So we also have, you know, Trish Decker, who we all know is the Director of Institutional Advancement. We have Jeff Gibson here. So he's part of one of these scholarship organization blocks that these tax credits can go directly to. And we also have Bill Fegley here, who actively participates in these programs. So he can kind of share his experience on how to sign up and everything. So we have a PowerPoint that we will go through to kind of go over these programs and how to sign up for them and the requirements and everything. So I believe Trish will share her screen.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Morning.
So this PowerPoint we put together just to kind of give an overview of the program. See it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Basically, it gives an overview of the program, the benefits, how easy it is, and Bill's going to share some information with you on how easy it was for him to go through this. And why it's so important to St. Hubert's. So this year, we have 80% of our students that qualify for financial aid. And the EITC program, EITC OSTC program was implemented so that donors could designate their state tax dollars to transform them into tax credits and designate them to a school. So Jeff Gibson is from Blocks, one of our biggest, probably our biggest supporter, and they are our biggest supporter in this program. They're very generous with us. They help us get donors that are not even from the St. Hubert community. So we're excited that Jeff is here today to share his experience and expertise. And I'm going to have Jeff step in. So if you have any questions, just put them out there. The difference between EITC and OSTC is that OSTC is focused on children, you can see at the bottom, residing in the 15% lowest achieving schools. So when we receive OSTC dollars, we have to find students that live in certain zip codes. So in order to receive those funds, they would have to meet criteria, which would say if they were going to a public school, it's one of the lowest achieving in the city. The EITC is need-based. And Jeff, can you speak about the 90% versus the 75% commitments?
Yeah, I mean, typically a 1-year commitment is 75% credit, 2 years, 90%. But I can tell you in 7 years I've been with Blocks, I've only had probably one person ever get a 75% credit. We typically do a backfill situation for a 1-year commitment, and Bill has clients that have done this. Basically, we have someone who contributes in 19. They may come back in 20. They may not. They might come back they might have a large one life event in 19 for 100,000. They might be able to do 20,000 in 2020. So we have to backfill their 80,000. So that's where I could offer somebody, a spot of that 80,000, in essence, backfilling the year 2 and getting the 90% credit. So again, unless it's an absolute crazy circumstance, it's always going to be 90%. We'll always make it happen that way. And in regards to the donor, don't worry about EITC, OSTC. Don't get in the weeds on that, because the donor gets the same credit for either program. We'll worry about that with you. You guys can use OSTC or EITC. Some schools cannot use OSTC at all, but we would just swap it with EITC. So from the donor standpoint, that doesn't matter. But it's certainly good to point out the differences when you're explaining the program. So I hope you don't take it any other way than that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the majority, I would say probably 80 to 90% of the funds we receive are EITC.
Yeah, and we used to be split probably 70-30 OSTC versus EITC. Now we have, it's probably 70-30 EITC versus OSTC. So you're going to get EITC most of the time, but again, for schools in the city, or we know you pull from zip codes that would be OSTC qualified, it really, you know, from your standpoint, it's either way, it's going to help you guys out.
So why does this benefit St. Hubert student? The St. Hubert students, this money can only be used for tuition assistance. Can't be used for anything else except providing opportunities for the students. This current school year, we have approximately 35% of our students that are receiving EITC, OSTC money under these programs. One of the big focuses we have right now with the financial aid committee is trying to get more students to apply for financial aid. A lot of the families don't do it because they think they're not going to qualify. So if a family doesn't put in the financial aid application, then we can't award them EITC money. So that awareness is really causing us to try and increase our applications so that we may be able to assist more students through this program.
Can I chime in on that? I'll just tell
Absolutely.
everybody what the qualifications are. Right now, it's annual household income of $92,000 and change per year. And the amount you can do per student is $16,230. So just a quick example is a family making about $92,000 a year, 3 children, whether it's at, you know, Hubert's, 1 at Hubert's, 2 at another school, whatever it is. As long as their income is a little over, you know, under the $140,000 mark or whatever it would work out to exactly be, then they'd be qualified for the program. So it's both are income based. You have to provide your you know, tax return from the prior year to prove that your income is what it is. So this really is, you know, EITC and OSTC are both income-based scholarships.
Jeff and Bill, could you speak to the difference for individual versus business participation in this program?
Sure. Bill, do you want me to just talk about how we do it and then you could talk about tax implications?
Sure, go ahead.
So we have 2 ways you can do it. Some businesses choose to apply for credits on their own. Opening day, so to speak, is July 1st. That's where ABC Supply Company, if they want to just do it on their own, they can go through and apply for the credits. They get approved, and then they really get to pick what scholarship organization they want to support. You know, it can be Blocks, it could be Bridge. They can spread the money out however they'd like. The other way to do it is where a company and or an individual gets absorbed into our Blocks LLC. You also hear them called special purpose entities. Basically, the way that works is Blocks is a 501c3, so we're a scholarship organization. We form entities, you know, LLCs, SPEs, again, they're called both. We apply for the credits on July 1st. When we get the credits approved in the late summer, early fall, we then backfill it with individual investors that will be qualified to donate under the program. We try to stick at $5,000 or higher per year. So that would be a person making about $170,000 annual household income with a 3.07% Pennsylvania state income tax. But again, there's other situations where they might have a capital gains from a 1-year sell-off, and Bill can get into that. But basically, we put the person into an LLC. They, in essence, join our partnership, and then they make their year 1 payment when they sign up. The second year payment would be due right around this time next year, give or take a few weeks, depending when we get approvals. But basically what will happen is each year that the person donates for a 2-year commitment, they make their contribution. Right now, they'll get a K1 from us by March 15th of 2021, reflecting the 90% credit on their donated amount. Going into their year 2, they'll make the contribution again right around this time next year. They'll get a K1 from us in March of 22, reflecting the 90% credit. And then in essence, they're fulfilled their 2-year commitment. But Bill can tell you, we try to make things extremely easy. The LLC document takes under 5 minutes, and that's if you know, kind of take your time doing it. It's all DocuSign. It's very clean and very easy for all of our donors. But again, maybe Bill can just let, you know, from the tax accounting standpoint, how things break out.
Well, I guess I would say to you that my wife and I have participated in this for 5 years, you know, through Blocks. And, you know, it can be, if it's a difference between somebody going to St. Hubert's and you know, going to public school or a poor school district, it can be a life-changing experience and opportunity for those kids. I mean, it's just wonderful. And basically, I mean, if you give $5,000, you get a $4,500 state tax credit. You're out of pocket $500. You also get a $500 charitable contribution with the IRS, which, you know, depending on what tax bracket you're in, that might be worth another $150. It may be worth nothing to you. But to be able to give a kid an opportunity, cost you $500 to give you a $5,000 scholarship is just super. I mean, we're fortunate. We have 5 kids. We have 3 kids that participate in the program. And, you know, we tell all of our, I'm a CPA, we tell all of our clients and all of our friends, my wife and I, about it. We've probably gotten, I don't know, maybe 25, and Jeff would know, maybe 25 friends, clients, you know, to participate. And I'll tell you that some people, after they're in it for about a year, and they get some correspondence from the school where they give the money, they'll call and thank me, and they'll say, you know, that's the best thing you ever did for me as an accountant, was got me in this program, because I get correspondence from these schools. I see what they're doing with their money, and it's just tremendous. And the paperwork, as Jeff said, is just, it's simple. I mean, it'll take you, you know, it'll take you 5 minutes to fill out the paperwork. And if you're, you know, an engineer always reads every word 8 times, maybe it'll take you an hour, but for most people, it takes 5 minutes, and it's a great program. It's easy. You sign it, you designate you want the money to go to St. Hubert's or where you want it to go to. You send your check to Blocks, you get a K-1, you take it to your accountant, you know, or you fill out your return yourself. It's real easy to fill out the paperwork. It's not going to cost you anything extra with the accountant to do this little bit of paperwork. It's simple. It's a great program. It's a great opportunity. Everybody should do it who can afford to, who makes enough to use the, you know, the credit.
Bill,
Can
go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, and I was going to say, Bill, you're correct. You probably have about 25 clients. You've been a huge supporter of this program. We tag people as centers of influence. Bill's probably one of our best centers of influence, because when people come to us, they come in hot and they're ready to go, because Bill's explained the program so well, and he really makes my job very easy. And Bill can tell you, we do reach out, I mean, on behalf of the school, because in essence, you know, they are our donor as well as the school. So we want to make sure the school gets the money. We do send some emails out, reminders, we will call, but we're certainly not going to be, we'll be politely persistent. We're not going to be harassing you constantly for your money. We give you probably 30 to 60 days once we notify you to get the thing in. We have to give some sort of timeline, or else, you know, we'll be chasing people down all year. So we have to, you know, we have different cycles throughout the year. So sometimes it's more convenient for a person to donate in the spring, and we have opportunity. The majority of our business is done in the fall, as Bill said, when a lot of the tax planning is occurring. So thank you, Bill, for the nice feedback as well.
Bill, and we greatly appreciate all of your support. And if you don't mind, I would really like to use your line, give a student an opportunity, because I think you just summed it up right there. That, you know, as a parent, I know my children all benefited from this program when they were students at St. Hubert's and Father Judge. So I think that's a great summation, that, you know, this program really provides much needed tuition assistance for our students. Tuition this year is close to $9,000 per student. So being able to get, you know, support through this program just makes it a lot more affordable for a parent. This is from 2018. So Bill and Jeff, this kind of summarizes what you were just talking about with the designation, the credits. Jeff, do you want to go through this real quick, or?
Well, I'll let Bill get into this, but I mean, basically from our standpoint, what I typically tell people, and Bill can get into the details, on a $10,000 contribution, you're going to get a $9,000 state credit. On the remaining 10%, you can, you know, take a small federal deduction depending on what your tax bracket is, between the 33 or 37, whatever the highest rate is right now. So like Bill said, in essence, for every 10 grand, I mean, it's going to run you basically between like $500 and $600 out of pocket. But again, for that cost, you're giving a $10,000 scholarship to a student that may not be able to go to that school without that funding. And just on Trish's point, we allow the schools to designate the funding to the students. You give the money to the school, but we let the school break it down, and they know the families better than we do. So we're completely out of that process. As long as they're qualified under the program, the school provides the funding to the actual student. But Bill, if you don't mind, I'd rather you break this down, since you have the credentials.
Well, this example here shows somebody with PA taxable income of $205,000. Their state income tax is $6,300. If they make a $7,000 contribution to St. Hubert's through blocks, they get a $6,300 tax credit. So what that means is that if you paid in, some people say, well, I already paid my $6,300 in with my state withholding, my employer took it out. Well, when you file your return, you'll get the $6,300 back. So you got $6,300 of your $7,000 back there. And then in addition to that, you're going to get a federal charitable contribution of the difference between $7,000 and $6,300, which is $700. So in this example, between the tax savings between the state of $6,300 and the federal of, I don't know, $168 or whatever it comes out to, it cost you $532 to make a $7,000 contribution. I mean, the one thing that we told one of our clients is that they were given $1,000 to as a donation to their, the school their children we went to, and we said, you're doing really well in life. I mean, how would you like to leverage that $1,000 and make it a $10,000 scholarship, and it cost you less than $1,000? That's another way to look at it. So if you're already giving to the school, you can leverage that, whatever that is, depending on what your tax situation is, 10 times. And it may cost you less. It's, just another way to look at it.
That's a great point. Didn't even think of explaining it that way, but yeah, you could take $1,000, make it a $10,000 opportunity for the students.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you. That's a great explanation of it.
And to Bill's point, that's a great way to identify someone who could probably do this program, because if they're stroking a check for $5,000 or $10,000 to your school already, then it shows they can probably afford to do something like this.
So just to give you a quick summary, this program, it provides much needed tuition assistance for our students. You're using Pennsylvania state tax dollars. As Bill just explained, and Jeff, it's very cost effective for a donor. The last bullet point, it's a critical source of tuition assistance. We currently have 164 students and families that are receiving these funds for this year. Overall, 80% of our students receive financial aid, 164, which is not close to the 80%. And that's why, excuse me, we have a big focus on trying to get more students to put in the financial aid application, because without that, they're not qualified to receive any of these funds. Questions and answers. Anybody have any questions? Anything they'd like to share?
I'll chime in if no one has any questions.
Go ahead. Absolutely.
I mean, I can tell you right now, we're still accepting 2-year commitments for $5,000 or higher per year. We currently still have the 1-year commitments open for the backfill situation. I don't know how long that's going to last,